Hare Krishna Prabhuji, Darod pranams.
Understand.
Hare Krishna devotees, welcome all of you for the today's morning program, Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya. And today we are very fortunate to have His Grace Gaurachandra Gopinath Prabhu, and Prabhu will enlighten us on Srila Prabupada Lilamrta, chapter 53, titled Krishna's Great Soldier. Over to you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana-shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Chaitanya Manobhishtam Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamagyam Tadati Swapatantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuda Patakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavam Cha Shri Rupam Shagrajadam Sagana Raghunatanvitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaidam Savadudam Parijana Sakitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitam Cha Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prasthaya Bhutale Srimade Bhakti Vedanta Swami Dinamine Namaste Saraswati Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Pashyatya Deshadarine Mahavadanyaya Krishna Prema Pradayate Krishnaya Krishna Chaitanya Namine Gauratise Namaha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhano Sudhe Devi Pranamami Hari Priye Mancha Kalpataru Besha Kripa Sindhu Bhaye Vacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namah Jai Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadara Shivashadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare Mukam Karoti Vachalam Pangum Langayate Grim Yat Kripa Tamaham Mande Shri Guru Deenadarinam Paramananda Madhavam Shri Chaitanya Ishwaram Harihi Om Tat Sat. Namo Vishnu Padaya. Hare Krishna. Thank you very much for giving one more opportunity to glorify Srila Prabhupada. I'll be indebted to all of you because it's such a nice thing talking about Srila Prabhupada. It purifies and it motivates us to progress in Krishna conscious life. So most of the time I would suggest any of the Bhakti Vriksha member or any of the persons who has been not progressing in Krishna conscious for a long time to read this Srila Prabhupada Lilamrta, because the struggle, the conviction, the Prabhupada effort he has put in. So we have little bit of gratitude. That gratitude will take us long way in Krishna consciousness and become fixed in Krishna consciousness. So it's a wonderful opportunity. Whenever there is Prabhupada Lilamrta, Prabhupada Katha is happening, we should take part, and that will inspire us. Okay, with that, today we are going to see chapter 53, Krishna's Great Soldier, entitled Krishna's Great Soldier. So I have been hearing previous Vaishnavas who've been speaking on this. So I also thought I will divide this session into two. So today I'll be covering only half of the session. There are two parts. One is Prabhupada is traveling to London, UK, and he was staying the first part. The second part, he comes back to Bombay and he stays in Bombay and he wants to open the Jugu temple. And there is a conversation, expression between devotees whether Prabhupada should go, because it was a 5 weeks to open the temple. So Prabhupada thought he will, his health is not well, he's been fragile, whether he should go to Vrindavan and stay and come for temple opening. Some divided, the team is divided. One person said no, Prabhupada should stay here, but Prabhupada wanted to go to Vrindavan. So we see a sweet exchange dealing between his disciples and between his guru, how difficult situation handled. One time, one way you want to see Prabhupada pleased, another team, they concerned about Prabhupada health, they want to stay him in Bombay. So those kind of beautiful conversation which we will be covering next week, or some other devotees can cover next week. But today I'll be covering only the first portion where Prabhupada is traveling to UK and the loving exchange between his disciples. So the theme was all over the world. Prabhupada was not well. You can see in the picture how Prabhupada health was weak. He was very fragile. The especially the UK Yatra was praying, "My dear Lord Krishna, if you desire, please cure Srila Prabhupada." And this was the theme for today. So you'll be seeing that how the reciprocation between simply Prabhupada and his well-wishers and disciples in UK. That would be the topic for today. Okay, so in this overview of in this entire chapter, it was August 28th, 1977, UK. He stayed in the manor, and September 6th was Janmashtami, 1977. He went to Radha Landaneshwar temple to briefly see him. These are the two temples Prabhupada established while he was there. Radha Landaneshwar was about 8 years when 1977, I mean somewhere around 1971 or 1970s, 8 years before, and the manor was established 4 years before, 1973, something like that. So Prabhupada visited here. Then after that, September 14th, he travels to Bombay. So that's a chapter we'll be covering the events in the next session. But today we will be covering August 28th to September 8th or up to September 13th before Prabhupada's travel. That would be the topic for today. So this was August 28th. Prabhupada is traveling through, I think it's British Airways. It was a long flight, and Prabhupada remained very calm, and he was staying there. Generally, his servants and Tamal Krishna Maharaj, his secretary, they all will help him in Prabhupada, because Prabhupada was living very quietly in Vrindavan. And now there are a lot of, in the flight, there are a lot of talks. People were drinking, people are talking loudly. Prabhupada was not well, so they didn't know what to do because they can't control the environment in the flight. But it would have been elsewhere in Vrindavan or any other ISKCON temple, they will be doing the service. So they are not able to do much service, but they at the same time they're not able to help Prabhupada, and especially His Holiness Tamal Krishna Maharaj was going a couple of times and checking with Prabhupada. But he didn't know what to ask, because most of the time when Prabhupada asked, "How are you feeling?" Prabhupada didn't like this kind of question. Also the Prabhupada servant, they were thinking, in the Shastras it is said that one should not predict what is going on in spiritual mastermind. So and they also didn't want to predict what's happening in Prabhupada minds, but the one thing they want to know, they want to please Srila Prabhupada. They want to make him better, because in Vrindavan or any other place, their job is to bathe Prabhupada, dress him nicely, take to the darshan, but which they are not able to do in the flight. It's supposed to be a long journey, 22 hours journey. So they are restricted with their seva. So now Prabhupada was more of, in Krishna's hand. He decided, let Krishna decide whatever he wants to do it. And one time Prabhupada was mentioning before traveling to UK, to in the Bhubaneswar, to his all people who are assembled there. It is not that I'm going to manor and I'm staying in the palatial place. Manor is supposed to be a very, his quarters. I will show you today some of the video clip from YouTube, how the palace was really Bhaktivedanta in the manor. He had a comfortable quarters. And Prabhupada mentioned, it does not mean that even though I have a very good accommodation palace in the UK, but still it does not mean that I would not suffer inconvenience because of the old age. Prabhupada said he is being really inconvenienced because of the old age, and he is depending on Krishna. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj trying to strike a conversation Prabhupada during the flight, and he would ask Prabhupada, really the people in UK are waiting for you. They'll be really pleased with you when we reach London. Prabhupada said yes. Otherwise, Srila Prabhupada mostly silent, meditating on Krishna. So So what happens is the flight, it was stopped over at Rome, delayed for 4 hours. And Prabhupada again took a flight, and he reached Delhi. From Delhi to Heathrow, it took 22 hours. As soon as they reached Heathrow airport, there was a strike happening in the airport. So again, the flight was circling for a couple of more hours. Then finally they landed. Heathrow airport. Then custom, other officials, the British Airways, they are able to clear the Prabhupada, and Prabhupada in the wheelchair. He started going in the Rolls Royce. White Rolls Royce was sent, and Prabhupada was on the ways to Manor. Okay. Now, His Holiness Astarupa Maharaj was clearly describing how Prabhupada used to this Western culture. Because Prabhupada, when you compare to the Vrindavan, his atmosphere, the Indian culture, and when Prabhupada first time went to US, he saw this, the busy streets, highways, skyscraper buildings, the complete cultural shock. But Prabhupada is not something new. He's been traveling around the globe for many times. He has traveled from east to west, north to south, from nation to nation, and he's traveled from snowland to tropics, cities to jungles, and seeing various people, black, white, different colors, creeds of people. And this is not something new for Srila Prabhupada, where hundreds of automobile racing a rat race among the meat eaters, blind rat race. This is not something new for Srila Prabhupada, because Prabhupada has seen, so he's just experiencing on the way to car from airport to the Bhaktivedanta Manor. But what was shocking to his disciple and well-wisher is that Prabhupada's health. As soon as they saw Prabhupada, you can see in the picture down, was very fragile, and it's almost that he can't travel, like that. But somehow he's trying to manage and trying to come. So this was a shock for the people. They can't imagine how Prabhupada is so weak. And the airport, the devotees met, and also as soon as he reached Manor, there are 300 disciples all over the Europe. Just a short notice, everybody arrived because they knew that this could be the last visit of Srila Prabhupada. They didn't know he might come again. So everybody wants to have his association, especially they know that Prabhupada was not well. So the devotees were shocked first to see him in like this condition, but they were Maharaj Satsarup Maharaj was comparing him to be like a great sage who has undergone austerities for the benefit of humankind. He was bone and skinny, and so they were really appreciative of Srila Prabhupada at this condition. Oh, Prabhupada has come to UK. He wants to be with us. So that was the mood in Prabhupada. And as soon as Prabhupada arrived in the temple hall, he was taken into the palanquin, from the car to the palanquin. Prabhupada was not able to walk. And there are all over the Europe, there are 300 devotees, Western disciples. They stayed, then they started doing kirtan. When they saw Prabhupada, almost they could not able to control the emotion, seeing the condition. But somehow they were ecstatically doing the kirtan. So they knew that Prabhupada just came to encourage all of us at this condition. So there was more ecstatic kirtan and praying for them. And one of the prayers, as I mentioned, they were written on the Prabhupada Vyasas. And my dear Lord Krishna, if you so desire, please cure Srila Prabhupada. So this is the standard Prabhupada has said, and his disciple also following nowadays. If somebody is not feeling, we might say we pray to Krishna saying, Krishna, please protect them, protect this family, or protect family members, or spiritual master, or Siksha members, or the important personalities in our ISKCON. But Prabhupada always said that, Acharyas always say that, please add, if Krishna desire, he can cure. We should not be simply praying that he should be cured. That's the standard Prabhupada. Prabhupada is completely surrendered to Krishna. If Krishna so desire, let me stay. Otherwise, I don't have any business here. So that was the culture Prabhupada established. And now also we can see there are so many Prabhupada disciples have been passing away, and their request is simply like that. If Krishna so desire, you can pray that I can stay for long to serve all of you. That was the mood Prabhupada has set. Such a selfless, complete dependence on how pure Vaishnava thinks. It's Krishna's desire. They do everything for Krishna's desire. They don't have any desire. Even though Prabhupada did not complete his Jogu project, he want to stay and he want to make it still perfect. He's already made GBC, everything is working fine, but it's not completely perfect. But he want to see that it is the most perfect institution. Actually, Prabhupada might have the desire to see that is so much giving so much effort to establish this organization. Little more would have been benefit, but Prabhupada was like, no, just thinking, let Krishna desire whatever he wants. Let me do that. So the devotees were initially thought Prabhupada would, health is not well, he might die at Vrindavan. Then some report came after some time that Prabhupada is getting well, he might come to London. Then definitely the confirmation came that Prabhupada is coming to UK and he has come. The happiness is multifolded and devotees were reciprocating with a wonderful kirtan for Srila Prabhupada. And then after that, Prabhupada takes the curtain opens. This is the Shri Radha Gokulnanda, beautiful deities of manner, Bhaktivedanta manner. And Prabhupada takes his Radha Gokulnanda deities. Actually, this is in my personal experience also, this is the second or third deity of ISKCON where I came in touch. When I initially came to Krishna consciousness, I know only Chennai and Bangalore. I didn't know any other temples. But somehow I was searching some Radha Krishna picture and I happened to get this beautiful picture of this. I still have this. This is a 15 years old picture of Radha Gokulnanda. But I didn't know that time. There was no name or mention Radha Gokulnanda. And I happened to go to UK. My first trip was abroad trip was UK and it was minor. And I was thinking this deity seems familiar. Where did I see? And I realized that this was my desktop picture and I used to keep this picture always in my workplace. So beautiful and amazing deities, because Prabhupada temple, wherever he established, this is ISKCON, such a powerful, the wonderful deities. And the reciprocation amazing, that unity experience you can't explain in words. So Prabhupada had Darshan, whom he installed 4 years back and before that. So Prabhupada, without taking the darshan, and he just went to his room, because Prabhupada did not speak. Throughout the stay, Prabhupada did not give much lectures. It was mostly coming and sitting Vyasasana, devotees performing kirtan. He's just encouraging, meeting his leaders for book distribution, preaching. Prabhupada did not, give a lot of lectures here. This trip, it was more of a reciprocation. He just want to be with the devotees, encourage them. And all over the people, they were all standing Prabhupada when he went to his quarters. Everybody is silently, hundreds of devotees, they were watching through windows and beautiful. I will also show you the manner. Prabhupada liked this place very much because it's very beautiful garden. There is a lake, ducks will be going on. Such a wonderful atmosphere there in Radha Gokulananda manor. And Prabhupada liked it, and then devotees placed a prasadam. And Prabhupada took a little bit of milk, sweet, and mango. Then he want to just break the silence, and he said, "How are you? How everything is all right?" Prabhupada asked. Then everybody shouted, "Jaya Srila Prabhupada," and that's the conversation. Prabhupada most of the time remained in his room taking rest, and then Tamal Krishna Maharaj went down, taking this opportunity. Instead of Prabhupada, he lectured the assembled devotees there. And then Prabhupada said, it is in the scriptures, it is mentioned, sannyasi, a devotee should stay in Vrindavan. And but Prabhupada decided to travel, and even at a great risk, even it is invalid, let me die on the battlefield. And some devotees told, in London there is a strike is happening, better you go to Italy, Tehran or Italy or France. But Prabhupada said, I want to go to London. I just want simply with the devotees. So Prabhupada came here to take shelter. This is a wonderful statement he's making. I want to go to London. Srila Prabhupada has come to take shelter of you, said Tamal Krishna Maharaj. So he was explaining how Prabhupada was happy living in Vrindavan, living his body. But Prabhupada is spiritual master, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, ordered him to travel. Otherwise, Indian sannyasi, they don't generally travel across the ocean. That is the scriptural injection. But Prabhupada broke this because his spiritual matter a master asked him to do so. So that way, Prabhupada was explaining the how Prabhupada loving so much UK yatra, and he wants to be just with all of you. And Srila Prabhupada, uh, you know, he just came here. So the devotees were really appreciative of Tamal Krishna Maharaj's speech, and they were deeply touched. And they were all thinking, how do I keep Srila Prabhupada here? He has come so much all the way in his health condition. He didn't go to America. He didn't go to any other place. His favorite project, Bombay, is going on. But Prabhupada has come to stay in UK. Then they all decided, let us do book marathon. So that Prabhupada will be encouraged and he will be pleased to stay here. So at the 2 o'clock next day morning, Bhagavan, there's one of these preacher. He's preaches in the southern Europe part of it. He and Tamal Krishna Maharaj, both of them meet Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was really happy to see Bhagavan Prabhu, and he was like a father embracing him, touching his head, and tears are pouring, and he says, "This is my life," and he was really happy like that. Um, And Prabhupada said to Bhagavan, see, Tamal Krishna has brought me with a great difficulty, Srila Prabhupada said. It was correct thing. I thought, what is the issue of dying? Better to come. So Krishna Balaram has placed me in care of Radha Gokulananda. So Prabhupada's making a statement that now Krishna Balaram wanted me to travel. What is the use of just simply dying in Vrindavan? I want to be a warrior, preach and die on the battlefield. And Bhagavan Prabhu presented all his book presentation, um, saying that his report, preaching report, he said, "I've Bhagavad Gita is now printed in France. Sorry, it was in Italian, and also the French version of the Srimad Bhagavatam has been released." And Prabhupada has told, and he has been telling that, see, the total book distribution score has been in Europe has been beaten, surpassed the America. And Prabhupada was like, very, very jubilant to hear. And he called, sorry, he called Tamal Krishna Maharaj. And he said, hey, Tamal, then he told, Tamal, did you hear that? Prabhupada said, this is my life. Come here. Srila Prabhupada been rubbing Bhagavan's head. And he, so happy, and he was started, you will have no problems, Prabhupada said. In fact, in the background, Bhagavan Prabhu has been having a lot of difficulties in preaching in the southern Europe part of it. He is going through a rough period. But as soon as Prabhupada rubbed his head and he said, you will have no problem, that gave a confidence that I'm protected, I'll be saved. As long as I've been doing Srila Prabhupada mission, serving this mission, spreading this mission, I'll be taken care. And he was so relieved, like a fatherly affection, and the exchange between the devotees, and Prabhupada started tear coming from his eyes. Most of the time you can see in this episode, Prabhupada is profusely crying. He is not able to control his tears, either seeing the deities or seeing the devotees. They're exchanging loving exchanges with that Prabhupada. So that's what predominantly in this series you see, and Prabhupada has encouraged Bhagavan Prabhu to distribute more and more. Then Prabhupada also, Prabhupada generally, occasionally would criticize, but most of them, his leadership style is encourage them. He motivates by leads by example, motivates them, just being with the devotees, asking them to for him. Very rarely he chastises just to correct it, but most of the time his style is to encourage people. So Prabhupada said, produce book. These books are all by mercy of my Guru Maharaj. No author throughout the world has written so many books. Shakespeare, let it be Shakespeare, Milton, Dixon, neither their books have been so widely read or with such appreciation. You can see it is sometime, this Shakespeare book and all is just made in the curriculum in the college. That's why it's widely read. But otherwise, it is not widely read. But Bhagavad Gita, Srila Prabhupada books, ISKCON books, the topmost seller all over the world. And Prabhupada is, just telling this because of my Srila Prabhupada mercies, Guru Maharaj mercy, that so many books has been done. Please print books. Whenever there is a books printed, it is distributed. Prabhupada is so pleased, and he says, this is my life. So in August 29, Prabhupada comes down to the temple, then morning to be with the devotees, to be with to be with the devotees. Um, then Prabhupada made a beautiful statement. Devotees here are all Vaikuntha men, Srila Prabhupada said. Good looking and nice dressing. Gokulananda is so beautiful. I shall be glad to die in this condition amongst the devotees and seeing Gokulananda. So this was Prabhupada was completely satisfied. He said, at this moment, even I have to leave this body. I am really happy because this is so beautiful. So Prabhupada also looked very beautiful in the silk dhoti and kurta, and he wearing sunglasses, freshly tilakas, and he was gliding down in the staircase through people were carrying in the palanquin, and he made sit in the Vyasasana. So the kirtan was going on. Prabhupada was very mildly reciprocating from externally, but internally he was crying. Those people who are very close to Srila Prabhupada attendants, they could able to see that behind the sunglasses, the tears were sprinkling from his corners of eyes. He's been profusely crying, and most of the time he just encouraged people to dance and sing kirtan. He was so satisfied with that. So people were with enthusiastically they were dancing. They knew that to Prabhupada to stay here for long, he has dedicatedly come to UK just to Kirtan and satisfy Srila Prabhupada. So when the devotees were, Maharaj writes in his book that Gokulananda is looking at Radha, Gokulananda is looking at Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was looking at here, and the devotees were looking at the deities and his pure Vaishnava. They said this is the Goloka atmosphere. What else is required? Here is a pure Vaishnava who is loving exchanges with his deities, and the deities also loving exchangely looking at the Prabhupada. So it was a Vaikuntha atmosphere. Everybody were really enthusiastically performed the kirtan. It went for hours together. And one thing instruction Tamal Krishna Maharaj came is that he said don't perform Guru Puja, because Prabhupada, as soon as he remembers his Guru, he becomes emotionally attached to it. So they said you do Hare Krishna Maha Mantra, Panchatattva Mantra, and do Hare Krishna Maha Mantra. That is the pattern he has requested. So Tamal Krishna Maharaj is very expert in understanding Prabhupada because he's already emotional, is not well. So he knew what to customize the things in Kirtan also. He said don't do any Guru Puja, because as soon as he remembers Rupa Sanatan, previous Acharyas, his Guru, then Prabhupada gets more emotional. And he was very expert in managing Prabhupada, know what he wants it, like that. Um, so then the UK devotees, and they were all happy. Prabhupadas came here, Radha Landaneshwar and Radha Gokulananda must be the Prabhupada's favorite deity, especially Radha Landaneshwara. Once time Prabhupada told that this is the center of the entire ISKCON spiritual world. From Radha Landaneshwara, entire ISKCON is established. This was the first deity Prabhupada established. So one of the initial deities. So Prabhupada's favorite deities, both of them. Um, Probably I have cut and pasted. Okay. Okay, then what happened is there was an invitation. Prabhupada was getting, he was staying for a few days, and there was an invitation from America that they started worrying UK Yatra. So because in US his mansion is ready, and they want to invite him, and they want to show how the book distribution was happening, the preaching happening in UK. Just give me a second. Okay. So the devotees were thinking, let us distribute more books so that Prabhupada can stay in UK. And the only best way doing is Kirtan and distributing book distribution, book marathon, so that Prabhupada can stay here. So there was competition everywhere, inviting Prabhupada everywhere. And there was a So then what happens is Prabhupada suddenly he was thinking about India. He was got really disturbed. He was really not happy with India, and he said, I'm better living in abroad than India." So he quotes, it's wonderful, best to read his words, Satsarup Maharaj words, um, distributed by Thoughts of India, and that he had no wish to go back. Prabhupada didn't want to go back. In India, he said, whatever project I made, the government has simply given me obstacles. I had to tax my brain so much. India, he said, had lost its culture. Now they think everyone is God and they do not understand bhakti, the teachings of Bhagavad Gita. From the members of parliament to the members of the street, everywhere there is a suspicion that I have brought CIA. Such a mistake they have made. So this is Prabhupada's feeling about India. So after a few days, Srila Prabhupada got a report from US. So they were saying their residency has been renewed. Now Prabhupada can come and stay. Tamal Krishna Maharaj informed about that. So Prabhupada immediately made a plan. Okay, let me go to America. And Prabhupada has made this wonderful statement, choking voice, he said, America has been so good to me, to give me money, men, everything. I have no designation that this is my country, but because they given me so much facility, I can't forget my obligation to them. I want to make them happy and thought them and through them the whole world. Prabhupada was so sentimental because when he wanted to spread this movement, the money, the place, and the devotees who were spread, they all came from US, then they spread all over world. So Prabhupada always was deep gratitude toward this country and the people who devotees helped from US. And Prabhupada decided, you make arrangement that I want to go to America as well. So Prabhupada was looking forward to travel to America after the Janmashtami. And let me see if... okay, before that, I just want to show you a video clip of how this Bhaktivedanta manor looks, Srila Prabhupada quarters. Then we will continue. Let me know if you are not able to hear.
Hare Krishna. So we're just entering the rooms of Srila Prabhupada at the Bhaktivedanta manor. Upon entering the first room, towards our left-hand side, we come across several paintings. This particular one is of Radha and Krishna and the gopis. If you can see here clearly, we have a bookshelf with a devotee chanting here. This room was used by Prabhupada to give instructions to his disciples as well as write letters to them. Devotees use this today to chant. As you can see, this is the Vyasasana that Srila Prabhupada used to sit on, which is actually placed in the main hall of the Bhaktivedanta manor but has now been brought up. Here, this is a shelf which has all the belongings of Srila Prabhupada, like his slippers. This is the shawl that he used to use. On the left is the stamp that the Indian government had issued to honor him. This particular one is this painting of Krishna and Balaram. This is how the room looks like overall, and we can see some devotees chanting and doing some seva. This is the fireplace, and here is the portrait of Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, whom we can see a little closely here, who was a spiritual master of Srila Prabhupada. Here's the clock that Srila Prabhupada used to use. Now we are moving ahead, and here is a rocking chair on which Srila Prabhupada used to sit. All these things have been kept as it is. This is the library of the books that Srila Prabhupada has written himself. This particular area is where Srila Prabhupada used to honor prasadam, and here we can see a vigraha of Srila Prabhupada himself sitting. During the day, devotees offer him letters to read, which he often used to love replying to, and in the evening the Bhagavatam kept on his right is opened, and he reads it at night. This is the typewriter that he used to use. Day and night, the devotees also change the water that Srila Prabhupada used to drink. This is the table fan with the deities of Shri Shri Radha Gokulananda, and that's Srila Prabhupada sitting right in front of the four acharyas from the disciplic succession. And we take on to the next room, that is the washroom of Srila Prabhupada. The rule is to always knock and enter because devotees are always chanting, so not to disturb them. This is the magnificent washroom of Srila Prabhupada. As you can see on the right hand side, we have a bathtub which has a lota and a part on which Srila Prabhupada used to sit and take bath in a completely Indian style, and we can actually also see certain.
Okay. Okay, that's just a glimpse of Srila Prabhupada manner, why he liked it. You can see that really it's a beautiful place where Prabhupada stayed. But Prabhupada is not attached to anything. He wanted to encourage simply the devotees. When the US devotees call, he would go. And when UK Yatra calls, he would come. He wanted to encourage everyone. So then Prabhupada was telling that, he was after Janmashtami, he wanted to go to America, which falls on 16th of September, 2 weeks that he want to travel. Then Prabhupada told Tamal Krishna Maharaj that I want to live a little longer to make everything more perfect. And Maharaj asked, how is that you're going to do, Srila Prabhupada? You want to stay with devotees and encourage them, or do you have any specific program you want to implement? And Prabhupada told his desire that, I want to introduce Varnashrama, a specific program. Prabhupada was still want to accomplish that. He wants to introduce a Varnashrama system. And there is a Pennsylvania farm was there. It's the biggest farm. He said, this will solve the problem of the food. I want people to be doing Varnashrama system. That was his Prabhupada's desire. Then later there is a devotee, Ganasham. He was preaching in the Eastern Europe like Bhagavan. He was doing Southern Europe. Then Eastern Europe, Ganasham is the devotee who was preaching, who came from England to Srila Prabhupada. Again, same loving exchanger, seeing his leaders and Parampara system, and he gave a report of how he's distributing Prabhupada books. And Prabhupada touched his head and stroked his head, and Prabhupada was crying in tears. Then Guru Prabhupada said, my Guru Maharaj has pushed, this is Parampara system, I'm pushing you and you are pushing your mens. This is like a train. Then Ganasham Prabhu has given a detailed report, very lengthy report of his preaching, how he's able to overcome a lot of difficulties with Prabhupada mercy. And Krishna, Prabhupada told this is Krishna's mercy that we are able to do that. Then there is Rishikesh Swami, GBC Secretary of Northern Eastern Europe arrived. He entered Prabhupada's room and offered protested obeisances. And again, Prabhupada eyes were overflowing with tears, rubbed his disabled head, and Harikesha also began to cry. Then Maharaj, Rishikesh Maharaj has explained how he is setting up his own printing press to print Prabhupada books in the European languages. Prabhupada said, very good. As father likes to see his estate nicely being managed, I like that. Get places and print books. This was Prabhupada commentary. And Rishikesh Maharaj has brought a lot of his book distributors in the Germany. They all given one-on-one opportunity to talk to Srila Prabhupada, being specially with Prabhupada. And Prabhupada conversation happened, and he asked, we need to, Yare Deko Tare Kahab, we need to Krishna Upadesh. He said, we need to preach Krishna Upadesh. Then he asked question, what is Krishna Upadesh? Can anybody tell? Then somebody said, should preach everywhere. Then Prabhupada said, no, any other answer than another boy said, Sarva Dharman Parteche Mamekam Saranamarja. Prabhupada expected and accepted that, and he spoke a few minutes on that, how to surrender to Krishna. It's a wonderful opportunity to preach. Then meanwhile, there is photography, color photos of Ratha Yatra, which is from Los Angeles, has arrived, and Tamal Krishna Maharaj was showing his beautiful pictures, and Prabhupada made a comment. Those three big Ratha Yatras, he never seen them before. So then he said, we have never seen such big carts. Then also there is a long queue in front of the changing bodies exhibit was there. Then Prabhupada exclaimed, I knew that this is what Prabhupada was desired. We should have scientific exhibition of how this changing bodies, what we are doing in TOP. So Prabhupada was very closer to these topics, and he was exclaimed, saying that I knew that this is going to be a great success, because he saw a huge queue in front of that exhibition, and those photos Prabhupada was looking at. So Prabhupada was very moved by this. Then in September 6, 1977, on Janmashtami Day, Prabhupada wants to move to Bari place. And again, he went to Rolls Royce to the temple, downtown to London, see Radha Londoneshwar. Left hand side, you can see the beautiful altar of Radha Londoneshwar. Jagannath Baldev Subhadra on the top, and the bottom you can see the same altar, Radha Krishna deities, beautiful deities. So Prabhupada again entered the building with the palanquin, and he took the darshan of the deities, and he cried, seeing the deities. And there is one more additional quote I read from Ranchor Prabhu's diary on Srila Prabhupada on this occasion, the September 6, 1977, how the devotees were, Prabhupada was trying to going in the Rolls Royce, which was very faster, but this all the German devotees and other people, they started coming, following this in the Volkswagen, trying to follow Srila Prabhupada. There are so many cars. Suddenly, UK saw this police traffic constable suddenly increase in the vehicles which trying to follow Srila Prabhupada. And somehow they knew that it's maybe given by the Beatles, because they know that while Rolls Royce very few people had, and maybe Beatles some importance. So they're trying to make way for the devotees, and the devotees were lost. They were trying to catch up, jumping the signals, because they want to follow Prabhupada like that. So it was a very different experience, because they knew that this could be the Prabhupada last visit to Radha Londoneshwar, is having the final pastimes with Radha Londoneshwar, and they are offered a wonderful arti, and then also performed arti to Srila Prabhupada, and Prabhupada was in tears. So this was a brief visit, and also Prabhupada was taken to the current Shogor temple, where they acquired the place, because this was a temporary place and they should need to shift, and Prabhupada approved those places where the current deities were shifted, and Prabhupada looked at from outside the building and approved the movement of the deities to this building, current building what we have. So that was a brief on that. And after September 6th is, of course, it is Srila Prabhupada Vyas Puja, next day after Janmashtami. We all know that. So it was Prabhupada was 82nd birthday. Again, all the devotees had made birthday cakes, and they put 81 candles. The 3-tier 5-foot long birthday cake. He noticed that devotees had only used 81 candles due to counting age by the Western method. So another candle was added, Srila Prabhupada request, and Prabhupada, on behalf of Prabhupada, Tamal Krishna Maharaj spoke, and Prabhupada did the cake cutting ceremony. He celebrated his Vyas Puja on this. So the next day, September 18th, Prabhupada's health has suddenly become much worse. He could not come down to the temple. This was the first crisis since he's come to England, and suddenly his plan changed. He cancelled his flight to UK, and instead of, he said, I want to go to India. I want to be in Bombay. If I have few days more, he said, let me see opening of the Bombay temple. We can't wait here and then to fly to Bombay. I have worked so hard for it. I see the opening and the die. It will be very peaceful death. Even if I live, I can come back here. So Prabhupada decided, come whatever, I don't know, my health is very bad, but I want to see Radha Rasbihari. It is closer, one of the closest project of Srila Prabhupada. He has given so much effort, energy, blood for this program. So then they are all, Kamal Krishna asked Srila Prabhupada what he had prayed in the morning. He was looking at the intentionally deities, he was praying to Radha Gokulnanda. Then Prabhupada replied, I was praying to Radha Gokulnanda to please engage me in the service of Sri Sri Radha Rasavigariji. He said, I want to go and open this Bombay. I want to see these deities being established. So Srila Prabhupada wanted to return to India. And if I survive this time, he said, we will do a Vrindavan Parikrama. Prabhupada always had a beautiful, desire that he wants to do Vrindavan Parikrama. This is the beautiful conversation. The second part of it next week is very important. So they divided between spiritual master desire versus health. Somebody said Prabhupada will not survive taking in doing this Vrindavan Parikrama, we should not take it. One group said, how can you even think of against Srila Prabhupada's desire that he wants to do it? We should execute his desire. There is another set of group, no, we are important, Srila Prabhupada needs to stay for longer and we want to take care of him. So there is a two division of devotees, how they talk, their conversation. So this is something wonderful for next week. We can see that a wonderful discussion between that. So Prabhupada told his desire that he wants to go once he, go to India, then he wants to see. So then Prabhupada started traveling to UK, the airport, and then he was taken to the wheelchair. That's all I had want to cover today. So there are any reflections devotees can stay, ask, then we will next week we'll cover the Bombay part of it.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, thanks a lot for the wonderful narration of the past times. So devotees lines are also unmuted and they can unmute.
Thank you very much for showing the Bhakti Vedanta manner, Prabhu. Haribol.
It's not a complete thing. You can have a complete. I just want to show a glimpse so that it's a beautiful place. It's Prabhupada quarters, and it's always pleasing to chant there around. A lot of devotees do that. And these things are kept as it is, most of them reserved for the next generation to take a visit and understand. Okay, if there are nothing else, I can stop here. Then next week somebody can do, or I can do the second part of it and the Bombay part of it.
Thank you, Prabhu. Hare Krishna. Thank you, Prabhu, for the wonderful narration. It was really very, very nice. I mean, to see the inner, so much of love, exchange of love, actually. The disciples and from Prabhupada's reciprocation was amazing. Thank you, Prabhu.
Yeah.
And whatever point you mentioned, Prabhu, at the start, like whoever is not progressing the Krishna consciousness, they should read the Srila Prabhupada's. So I think that is very important because, like, as a gratitude, like how much Prabhupada went through all these obstacles, so we'll get a little bit of eagerness to follow and practice Krishna consciousness with yourself.
Yeah, initial days when I used to go to Hare Krishna, then I would say why devotees are giving so much importance, because I have not read many books, that I'm not contacted with Srila Prabhupada books, but I used to go to temple and say why Prabhupada was given so importance. One thing, it raised, but I didn't realize that, but once I read these books, Lilamrta, then I realized who is Prabhupada. And most of the time, many people who are struggling in Krishna conscious, if they read this, definitely I'm sure they will take a progress, because it's practically, that's what I did. And my Krishna conscious was okay, but it was not going so progressively. So, but once I read Prabhupada books, understood what is really Krishna consciousness. Of course, we read Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavatam, but when read Srila Prabhupada books, the mission here clearly comes out how a warrior was fighting, how we should also help in preaching the mission. And that pleases Srila Prabhupada, especially book distribution pleases Srila Prabhupada. So these are something, and moreover, a lot of practical things we can learn from Srila Prabhupada. And he said, if Krishna so desire, you can make me to stay for long. Even though Prabhupada had desire, he states that I want to stay for some more time. I want to establish this Varnashrama system. Prabhupada had many huge ambitions, but he said, I left to Krishna. If you so desire, I will do it. If not, that's okay. So there are a lot of practical tips also we learn from these episodes in practical life. We also happens to meet our friends, colleagues, or relatives who are suffering, and we also pray to lordships. And the mood in which we have to pray, we don't know what is best for them. So it's leave it Krishna that if he desires so, he can protect them. Otherwise, we can't just pray that save them like that. So a lot of practical applications as well.
It's probably like we also see that like how you are behind the books distribution. So every year we see that. It's good, bro. Others. Somewhere else also I heard, probably like sannyasis should not cross the oceans. Any reasons
Yes.
for that?
This is Shastra's injunction that the acharyas they don't travel because the western is considered considered as most degraded places. Sannyasi goes to that, generally not recommended. So crossing ocean is not recommended for the sannyasis, and they do most of the bhajans. But Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur, Bhakti Vinod Thakur, they understood the real purport, what it means, and they are more of a preachers. They are so compassionate. They would have been happy, Prabhupada would have been happy preaching in India, Vrindavan. But he was so compassionate, and they knew that this mission has to spread all over the world. He gave the orders. The time and place circumstances, Acharya can change the rules. Prabhupada perfectly knew that he is not supposed to cross the ocean. But since his guru told that he has to travel, he said, I will do it. So that's a mood Acharyas knew, especially Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Thakur and Bhakti Vinod Thakur made a lot of changes, corrections in the current understanding, whatever we follow in Krishna consciousness. Prabhupada simply adopted it, and also he has changed some of them for our benefit. Time, place, circumstances. Acharyas can only change. Not everybody can change the rules. The Acharyas knows what is need of the hour, because the Indians were not listening. You can see Prabhupada, is really dissatisfaction. How the government and people thinking they are CIA. Prabhupada didn't want to come to India. Especially Bombay project given us so much trouble. Just literally fight with such a people, and Prabhupada was not happy. But why? Because at least the Westerners turned into Krishna conscious American, then we all follow because everybody is following Americans. So Prabhupada's intention was go there. That's why Prabhupada always said, is all these people are sent by my Guru Maharaj, because he wanted to fulfill this vision, and he is arranging everything. I'm being just an instrument. So all these foreigners, especially US, Prabhupada is really thankful to them, so that he can establish at least India can they can all these Indians can come back to the original culture of Sanatana Dharma and follow this Bhagavad Gita, because how much struggle is written to write books, speak to Indian president, prime minister. He touched every stone, and none of them were ready to spread, and it was very difficult for him even to print books, magazine. And Prabhupada has to go to America, so that we are all today being little whatever we are doing Krishna consciousness. It's just because of those devotees and Prabhupada's dedication to America. Otherwise, I don't think so. If Prabhupada continued to preach here, many of us would have become a devotee. So Prabhupada knew what needs to be done. So that way he crossed ocean. So Acharya knew that the crossing of the ocean, so many millions of people get benefited, that can be compromised. So the Acharya knew the benefit of him crossing ocean, otherwise they wouldn't have instructed. So they are the Acharyas of this modern time, and they knew perfectly. That's why simply we need to follow the Acharyas. Don't imitate them, but we can follow their instruction. It is definitely benefit for us.
Yes, Prabhuji, thanks a lot, Prabhuji. Any other devotees want to comment or add anything?
Thank you, Gaurachandra Gopinath Prabhu. Thank you for sharing the nectar.
Thank you
Prabhu
for the opportunity.
And Prabhuji, I think one point that was very appealing or inspiring was Prabhupada disciples were looking for all the opportunities outside him. I think that mood was really, really something to get some inspiration.
Yeah, the more you are closer to your Guru, It's very important. The another secret is that the more you closer to your guru, more you depend on your gurus. Because most of the time, what happens when we become after some time in Krishna consciousness? Yeah, I know everything, right? For relative principle, reading Bhagavatam, hearing, morning chapa, chanting. I know everything about Krishna consciousness. It is not that. Um, so it's more with through Guru you get Krishna, through Krishna you get Guru. So the more we closer to our gurus and Srila Prabhupada especially, then the mercy flows in, and we get, even though we knew sometime we will not be able to progress, we will not be able to do our chanting properly. We may not, there may be a lot of obstacle, and we might just pace out of some time. So this is very important that we get closer to the Guru, Srila Prabhupada especially, and your own spiritual master. That is the only thing, anchor, which will keep you in Krishna consciousness. If we are not closer to the anchor, definitely your Krishna conscious, staying in Krishna consciousness is very, very remote chance. So that's why we should take opportunity whenever there is a Guru Puja, Prabhupada, associating with the gurus, and we should take it very more utmost importance. That will keep you in Krishna conscious, nothing else.
Hare Krishna Prabhu, we are grateful to Narahari Chaitanya Prabhu and team of Nityam Bhagavata Seva. But for them, I would not have read Lilamrta. I think I am not. It's so nice, and as you said, it really makes you dedicated to the moment and to Srila Prabhupada Prabhu. Dandavad Pranam Prabhu.
Thank you so much. So that's why we should stick to senior Vaishnavas. They knew exactly what can keep us in Krishna consciousness. This Prabhupada Lilamrta definitely will take long ages for us to progress in Krishna consciousness. Okay.
Krishna Mataji wanted to say something. You have unmuted. I think then we can end the class, Prabhuji, with Vaishnava Pranam. Vancha kalpatarupesha kripa sindhubhyo cha
Paditanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo namo namaha.
Anantapur Vaishnava Vrinda ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Gurudev ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande.
Hari Hari Bol.
Thank you, Prabhuji, once again for the wonderful narrations from the chapter 53rd. And thanks all devotees for your active participation. Hare Krishna, ending the class now.